I invite you to have your half sermon sheet in front of you. And I want you to think about Jesus here in this story. Jesus who spent 3 days in hell. Jesus who rose again. Jesus who is the Son of God. Jesus who asks these guys a pretty interesting question when you think about Jesus being Jesus and knowing what Jesus knows. Have you caught any fish? Does Jesus know the answer to that question? Why are you asking the question, Jesus, if you know the answer? Is he talking to what it's like to be in a boat? Is he talking to us who spend time in a car and there are 4 or 5 or 6 hungry people and there are 4 or 5 or 6 restaurants and you can't decide where to go to eat? He's talking to us. And he's saying something that I find really important. And this happens in every church throughout every piece of time that ever existed. Listening to one another. Or not listening to one another, which is what we can sometimes be caught in doing. If you caught the sermon vlog that was posted this past Friday, I shared a story of 3 of my good buds. My 3 buds are named Saleh, pronounced Saleh, Lola Lourdes, and Hernando. And these 3 buds of mine have been very present to church meetings across time and place and space. And it's Saleh's turn to present her portion of the meeting. Saleh is Saleh. She gets it right. She's powerful, she's quick, she's poised, she's important. She loves what she does. And she gives her report. Yay, it's all good. Lola Lourdes is next, and she also gives her report. And her report is equally good. And she's completely invested in her portion, her part of the whole. And as they say in the video, she's shaking and she's baking and she's moving and she's grooving. Things are rock and roll. And then, in the Spirit of God, Lola Lourdes gets this idea. She gets this spark. And she starts to ask the question, what if? What if we try something risky? What if we do something we've done before, but somehow it just fell away? What if we do something that has fallen away in a slightly different way now? And just as these ideas are ruminating in her heart and in her head, Saleh shoots it down. She literally shoots it down. And this idea is shattered across the floor. And Hernando, who's hearing all of this and has heard all of these things before in different ways, is in dismay. Now, the rubber's about to meet the road today. When we look at what we can do as a church body, I break it down into essentially 3 different things. There's 3 different outcomes. There's 3 different ways we can handle this situation between the 3 of them. And all of us have been all 3 of them at some point or another. I'm not finger pointing anybody. We've all been identified in these 3 roles, each and every one of us. Let me be clear. So there are 3 outcomes that we can do when this situation unfolds. And again, this situation is not germane to Hartford First Congregational United Church of Christ. It's been a part of church history since church history wasn't history. 3 outcomes. Love, shoot, or quit. I've been a pastor for 10 years and I've seen all 3. You've seen all 3 as well. And maybe you've done all 3 somewhere along the way. Let's get to the shooting part. Don't, because it's illegal and bad. Don't. Let's get to the quitting part. That's a little different. Because that committee is mean, or that group is abusive, or they're not kind, or they're not attentive, or they're not giving me the space I need, or they're moving in a direction that I don't like. True? I'm talking to every single one of us, and I'm not talking just 2019. I'm talking when you first had church or group in your heart and in your experiences. Well, they're not right, and I don't like what they're doing. And they seem to be beating me up, or they're not listening to me, or they're not following what I think they should be following. So I'll quit. I'll quit. Now, there's a pastor who's been in place for about 2 years. And he said to me, who's been here for 1 place, 10 years, that's not heard of anymore. It's not. FYI, when you send me out to Lancaster Theological Seminary, I learn a lot. And that you've had a pastor for 10 years says a lot about who you are. It also says a lot about who I am. And this is a coping mechanism that I use all the time when you, how do I say it? I won't. But I have a coping mechanism. I say I quit. When I walk the dogs, and most of you know I have a lot of them, I walk in the woods, most of you know that. If I wasn't able to do that, I wouldn't keep or couldn't keep this job. It's a fact. It's my God time. I need it. I vent, I stomp, other things. Thank you for laughing there, Mary. Yeah. If you heard me sometimes, you wouldn't hire me as a pastor. It's true. It's true. My coping mechanism, FYI, is I say I quit. Oh, I've quit 12 times. A year. It's a coping mechanism. I get to here and I'm just like frustrated with the whole whatever, and I quit. I recommend that you do that for a moment. It was working for me, and I hope that it works for you, because you get to that place. Now I'm talking about relationships as well. I'm speaking specifically to church, but if you've been married, if you have kids, if you have a senior member in your family, you know that there's times that your buttons really, truly get pushed. So I invite you to think about quitting for a moment, because it's a release valve, and you need to have things released, right? Even the most mild-mannered of us has their foot stepped on sometimes, and it hurts. So for a moment, quit. Okay, back up. Shooting, not a good idea. Quitting, for a moment, okay. Now let's get to where the rubber really makes the road move. And that's called love. Love isn't, I want this person to do these things, and because this person is doing these things, I love them. Right? You people have celebrated 1-year anniversary. You understand that what I just said is a pipe dream. It's not a reality. When we love, we don't conquer. We don't control. We do what? What do? You do it all the time. I'm just giving it a word. I'm giving it an action now. You listen. You listen to them. Why? Why is this thing, let's call it Pizza Hut, for lack of a better example. Why is Pizza Hut so upsetting to them? Why is this thing so hard for them? It's just Pizza Hut. I like Pizza Hut. It's pizza. What's so hard about pizza? Just Pizza Hut. And they're like, baboom, right? Again, it's a cheap and easy example, but it's a good one. There's something someone in your life does, and you're just like, I don't understand why. It's just pizza. Why are you not getting what I see? You can stay there. How well does that go over? Or you can go, okay, hold on. There's something here with pizza. I don't know what it is. But I can listen. Now, I can shut down my agenda, my way of thinking, my way of doing, my way of loving pizza, and listen. Congregationalism is successful when we listen. Congregationalism is beautiful when we stop what we hear and what we hold and extend our attention to someone else. I repeat, Jesus knew the answer to his question, how many fish did you catch? But he asked it so that they could understand the conversation or conversations that they had had that night in the boat. I want to get to our sermon note sheet. And I want to start with what we've concluded this past Sunday. Each and every one of us needs to hear this, including the guy who quits this job with his dogs. And I'm still here. It works. From last week. The word listen contains the same letters as the word, twice, word silent. So if we are to listen, we are to silence our agenda. And sometimes we can't do that in the moment because our agenda is too pressing. Our agenda is too loud, or we're too hot under the collar for us to actually be silent, right? I'm not the only one who gets hot-headed sometimes, right? And I'm not the only one who gets passionate sometimes, right? So we have to understand that, like, maybe right now I can't be silent, but I can try in the right time to be silent so that it is not my thoughts I'm hearing. It's not my agenda that I'm going to steamroll through. I'm going to be silent so that I can listen. I should be a marriage counseling coach. Do that my day job. From my vlog, number 2. From my vlog comes this quote from Henry Ford. And I believe that when we understand its tenets, then the continued success of this church will blossom. Henry Ford said, coming together is a beginning. Beginning. Oh, we're here. It's great. We're going to try this out. It's going to be great. Coming together is a beginning. The sweet stuff. Keeping together is a process. A process. And working together is a success. Coming together is a beginning. I'm brand new at this committee. I'm brand new at this venture. Keeping together is a process, the understanding that we need to listen to one another as best we can, which, when we think about it, can be very superficial. And here it comes, working together. It's a success. Saleh, Lola, Lourdes, and Hernando had something to do that each one of us can do. And that's listen. Not my way or the highway. It's what is to be shared between us. And here's number 3. At the end of the day, you can focus on what's tearing you apart or what's holding you together. You can hold on to that itty-bitty thing, how dare they, not like Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut is the thing to do. We're getting into this big fight over Pizza Hut. You can hold on to what is tearing you apart, or you can hold on to what is keeping you together. And this is where Jesus comes in. Jesus is Jesus. If we wanted to rewrite the scripture that you heard in chapter 21, just erase that and just kind of keep the same players, but let's just change it up a bit. Make it smooth, right? Because that's Jesus, right? That's old times, right? The Bible's all sweet. Life today is maybe not, but back then it was all sweet. Jesus, this is the new version of 21, chapter 21. Jesus says, hey guys, get in the boat with me. Okay, sure, Jesus, we'll go in the boat with you. And when he's out in the boat with them, he has this like group session with them, and they all talk about each other and their differences and their strengths. And they bond and they sing songs. And they get out of the boat and then they have breakfast. It's all sweet, right? That's the sweetened version of what you didn't hear. What you heard was an idea from one. He didn't invite the others with him for reasons that we do or do not know. Flashback. Peter says, I'm going fishing. Do you want to come with me? No. He just says, I'm going fishing. They join him. They have a goal. to catch fish. They do not succeed at this goal. They probably bicker. Jesus says to them, and they can't recognize him at first. Why? Because they're having a great time, kumbaya. They're probably at each other. Jesus says, how many fish did you catch? Oh yeah, Jesus, you're right. We can catch any. Jesus directs them. When Jesus directs them and when Jesus directs us, what happens? In the story, there's 153 fish. In our lives as Congregationalists, there's great gain. Let's gain together. Let's gain together by listening, not to ourselves. You do that a lot. Listen to each other. Holy and gracious God. You are teaching us through our snaps, our crackles, and our pops, which have and will continue to happen, that you are our God, and that when we give up our agenda for yours, and we do this by listening with love to those at the table, in the boat, or in the community around us, that there is gain. Help us hear you and each other. And the people of God say, Amen.